Hey guys, Brad here from Scooter Street. Well, today we're going to be going through this Italkit cylinder kit here. This one's actually for the Aprilia Ditec engine, or the Marini liquid cooled engine, so it has a few different fitments as well as some Suzuki's as well. But we're going to be discussing why this is such a great kit, particularly if you're doing a carb conversion on your Aprilia Ditec engine. So I've got everything here that comes in the kit. You can see there's a really lovely quality cylinder, exactly what you would expect from an Italian manufacturer. The actual manufacturing quality is excellent. These are obviously an aluminium cylinder with a Nikasil bore. Now what's so great about this particular cylinder kit is in the Malossi comparison, the only Malossi cylinder that's made for this particular engine is the Sport kit, which is obviously cast iron. Now this kit, being that it's alloy, would dissipate heat significantly better, and that Nikasil bore is super tough. It's the sort of thing that you see in the higher end MHR cylinder kits. Unfortunately, Malossi don't have an option available for this particular engine, being that Marini liquid cooled engine. Now another thing that you might notice is that it's a single ring kit. Now what's a little bit unusual about this cylinder kit is that it's single ring, but it does have a relatively standard port map. I don't know if you can see that there, but it has a single exhaust port. Now it is a slightly unusual shaped exhaust port in that it's expanded at the tips, at the very top tips, which you probably can't see there, but it is quite a large exhaust port for a standard port map, and the intake ports as well are really quite enlarged compared to a, say for instance, Malossi Sport cylinder kit. So that with the single ring, you're definitely going to see a significant power difference between a Malossi Sport and this kit here. Now, being that it is single ring, you will need to do a piston replacement probably a little bit earlier than you would a twin ring, but there are replacement parts available for this. And if you look after your bike using good oil, you're not over oiling it, and you're doing regular servicing using good fuel, I would expect that you should be able to get a minimum of 10,000 Ks out of one of these pistons before you would change it. And this is pretty much the case for most decent quality single ring cylinder kits, as well as even the single ring Malossis. Obviously it comes with a full gasket kit as well. This kit here uses O-ring gaskets, again very similar to the Malossi, with the main inner O-ring gasket, and then obviously the outer O-ring gasket as well. Now on the Ditec engine, similar to many other European designed scooters, they are designed often with little outlets at the top of the head. These are usually designed with a little coolant gallery that's built into the carby. The idea being that it warms the carby up in really cold weather, because that coolant obviously heats up pretty quickly. Now in the kit, they do give you this rubber tube. The idea being, you pretty much just daisy this tube into the other coolant line if you don't want to use that system. Now, if you're doing a Ditec conversion, you're almost definitely not going to use that system. You're just going to block it off, and they give you the hose to do that. Now, one other thing I mentioned about the head while we've got it, obviously it does have a temp sensor in the top of it. Now, different bikes use different size and thread temp sensors. They've actually included in here essentially what is a bung with a little soft metal washer to block off that temp sensor port if you so wish. The Ditec, some of the Ditecs, I think particularly the early ones, have a similar size temp sensor to this, and the later ones have a different size temp sensor. So it's up to you whether you go and block this off with the bung, or you look at getting some sort of threaded conversion. One thing that you can do, block this off, you can relatively cheaply get little inline coolant hose fittings, which have a temp sensor fitting built into them of the size of your choosing, and they essentially, you chop your coolant line and plug both ends onto it. It's a small metal fitting, and it has a thread in it to put your temp sensor in. If you're going to do something like that, I recommend that you try and install it as close to the head as possible. If you go and install it somewhere down the line, it's not going to give you as accurate of a reading of the temperature on the head, which is really the most important thing. That's where all the heat is being generated. So you're going to keep that sensor as close to the head as possible. It does come with other fitment pieces that you would need. Obviously gudgeon pin and circlips just in this little packet here, and they are sort of a G style circlip. Now these are usually the G and the E style circlips are a little bit easier to get in because you can get your pliers onto the extra little tag on the inside. It's a long held gripe with the Malossi circlips, and they are a C circlip. They can be a real pain to get in, so these are a whole heap easier. The only thing that doesn't come with the kit is a set of instructions, which is slightly unusual. But if you're going to be doing a carb conversion kit on your scooter, there's probably a pretty good chance that you've done a fair bit of research first, and I would definitely recommend watching some more in-depth videos before you go attacking something like this. And even with the Malossi kits, the instructions are usually incredibly basic anyway. So definitely something you're going to want to do a bit of research on if you're not experienced with doing a job like this. Unfortunately, with the Ditec, there's very limited exhaust options available these days. The best exhaust that we've found, and one that will work quite well with this cylinder, is the Malossi Art of Performance, which is essentially a rebadged Gianelli reverse. If you can get a Gianelli reverse, it's also going to work really well. So being a sort of a mid to high range street exhaust, we've just found from experience that often the Malossi Art of Performance is a little bit easier to get your hands on, but you're definitely going to want a decent expansion exhaust for this, as it will be a relatively high revving kit with that single ring and large port setup.